Welcome to KOT Aero, knowledge on tap for the aerospace community. Subscribe for free at kotaero.com. All right, let's dive into it.
All right, everybody, buckle up because we're going on a deep dive today.
We're talking airplane no smoking signs.
You know those little signs that are, always lit up?
You'd think in our smoke-free skies it'd be a no-brainer, right?
Right. But as it turns out, getting rid of that teeny on-off switch,
Oh, it's a journey.
a total journey through regulations and, believe it or not, a little bit of airline history too.
We're digging into some Federal Register excerpts for this one.
That's the official Journal of Government Regulations, by the way.
Don't worry, we'll make it painless, I promise.
So you might be thinking, what's the big deal, right? It's just a little switch.
That's where it gets kind of interesting.
Yeah. So picture this. You're on a flight way back when, and people are lighting up cigarettes right there in their seats.
Not that long ago, that was the reality.
It's crazy to think about.
And those no smoking signs, they actually had on-off switches.
Oh, okay. So if some sections were non-smoking and others weren't.
Exactly. The crew needed a way to signal when and where.
But obviously things have changed.
Big time. The major shift, of course, was in 2000. That's when smoking got banned on all U.S. passenger flights.
So no more smoky air, thank goodness.
But here's the thing. That rule about those switchable signs,
It just stayed.
it's stuck around, even though lighting up was a thing of the past.
Wait, seriously? Why even keep an outdated rule like that on the books?
Well, that, my friend, is the million-dollar question.
Hit me with it.
And it takes us deep into the very heart of bureaucracy.
Oh boy, here we go.
So instead of just directly changing that original rule,
You'd think that would be the simple solution.
right, but airlines, they had to prove that ditching this on-off switch, it wouldn't, compromise safety?
Let me get this straight. Even though smoking was banned, they still did jump through hoops to get rid of a switch that was basically useless.
You got it. They had to demonstrate this equivalent level of safety. We're talking ELOs for short. Basically, they had to prove that getting rid of the switch was just as safe as keeping it.
Even though no one was smoking anymore.
And get this, the FAA actually granted a ton of these exemptions over the years.
So if they were granting all these exemptions anyway,
Yeah.
why not just change the rule already? Seems like a lot of extra work for everyone.
And that, my friend, brings us to this fascinating little thing called regulatory inertia.
Okay, unpack that for me. Regulatory inertia. Sounds pretty intense.
Basically, it means even when everyone agrees a rule is outdated, actually changing it.
It's a nightmare.
It can be. Procedures, reviews, paperwork galore.
Sounds like my last DMV visit, honestly.
Exactly. And, the airlines, they probably weren't exactly pushing for a rule change.
They found a way to work around it, so why bother?
And the FAA, oh, I'm sure they had bigger seating to fry than a tiny on-off switch.
So no one's really complaining. No one's pushing for a change.
Right. So the question becomes, how does a rule like this ever actually change? Well, you actually hit on something there with that Delta Airlines thing.
Oh, you mean how they got that early exemption back in '95?
5 years even, before the smoking ban was a thing.
They were way ahead of the curve on that one.
See, that gives us a little peek into how these things sometimes change.
Go on.
Think about it. Delta was probably already moving towards smoke-free cabins.
At least on most of their flights, right?
Exactly. Plus, think about the cost.
Simpler signs, less wiring.
Fewer parts to replace.
They probably saw a chance to streamline things.
Get ahead of the game a little.
Smart move on their part.
So, we've got this rule stuck in the past. No one really raising a fuss.
Oh.
And then the FAA finally decides, you know what? Time to modernize.
Better late than never, I guess.
Exactly. So as of this year, no more on-off switches required for those signs.
Just like permanently illuminated, no smoking.
Manufacturers can choose to make them always on.
Airlines can update if they want, or not.
A win-win for everyone, really.
Except maybe the on-off switch manufacturers.
Right, but hey, gotta move with the times.
That's progress.
It's funny, this whole no smoking sign thing, it really shows how rules and regulations, they can be a little behind the times sometimes.
Oh, absolutely. Makes you wonder what other outdated procedures are still out there.
Just because no one's gotten around to changing them.
It's like finding one of those old appliances in your grandma's basement.
The one nobody uses anymore.
But nobody throws away either.
Exactly. And think about this.
I'm listening.
This goes beyond just airplanes, right?
Oh, for sure.
Think about everyday stuff.
Like what?
The way we file taxes.
Oh, don't even get me started.
Or how certain products are even made.
Yeah, you're right.
So many examples of rules that are basically stuck in the past.
Okay, so what does all of this mean for the average person listening?
Yeah.
You're listening to this and you're like, okay, I get it. No smoking signs, whatever. It's not like I'm designing airplanes every day. But these outdated rules, these workarounds, they're everywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
Think about it. At work, at school, even just in your own life.
Yeah.
You ever do something that seems totally inefficient?
Oh, all the time.
But everyone's always done it that way, so you just kind of go with it.
If it ain't broke, right.
Exactly. But maybe, just maybe, it could be a little less broke. This whole deep dive, it makes you think twice, you know?
It's all about perspective.
Questioning the status quo, that's how things actually change.
You gotta start somewhere.
Might take time. But hey, it's always worth asking, is there a better way?
Couldn't agree more.
So next time you're stuck with some ancient form or a procedure that makes absolutely zero sense,
You know the one.
don't just shrug and go with it. Ask yourself, what if there was a better way? Maybe you'll spark a revolution, or at least you'll have a good story for later. Thanks for diving deep with us, everyone.